Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You are attending the Yahuah Direct webinar. I am Ayana, and we are starting a new series today. But first, before we get into that, let us open with a word of prayer. Ab Yahuah, thank you so much that you have come alongside us through your Ruach Kedusha, and you've shown us the path of righteousness. You've shown us truth. You've shown us the sins and the folly of our ways. Father, in our ever searching for you and your truth, we thank you that you have revealed to us what is legitimate and what is not legitimate. What is your word and what's not your word? What is your language and what is not your language? Father, I ask for your help through your Ruach Kedusha, that we be able to understand and get the truth of your word, the truth of your letters, and the truth as you originally made it. We thank you, Father. We praise you and we love you, and we ask for this in your Kedusha name, Yahuah Alua Ya'am, through your Son, Yahusha HaMashiach. Hallelujah. All right, so we are starting a new series today, and the new series will be talking about the Bara Yahuah Safar. It's titled Yahuah Created Letters, and we will be getting into the alphabet, the original alphabet. Now, if you can notice on the screen here, you'll see that there is a change in the type of letters that I usually use. I usually use pictographic Hebrew, or Yahudyath is more proper. But for this series, I will be using Paleo, what is called Paleo Hebrew, but it is original. It's Middle Yahudyath. Okay. So in the sequence of time, the Yahudyath language was originally pictographs. Okay, and you've seen that in the other previous videos. But in the middle of the development of the language, Middle Yahudyath is actually Paleo, what's called Paleo Hebrew. All right, so these letters, the Bat, the Rosh, the Alf, the Yah, the Hey, the U, Hey. This is the Samak or the Smak. This is the Pei, and this is the Rosh. Bara Yahuah Safar. Okay? Yahuah created letters. All right. So let us get into it. Let us start with the statement verse. I usually like to start with a statement verse because it kind of sets the tone for the entire series. And you know from the other videos I have statement verses for that. But the statement verses, while we are looking at the letters of Yahuah's language, okay? Of the language that the scriptures were written in. So let me correct that. Yahuah made all languages, but the language that he chose to write the scriptures in is Yahudyath. All right, so our statement verses, it's actually two of them, can be found in Yahuah chapter 7, verses 15 and 16, and that would be John for those who don't recognize the Hebrew, what's called the Hebrew term. And about the middle of the festival, Yahusha went up into the set apart place, and he was teaching. And the Yahudim were marveling, saying, how does this man know letters, not having learned? So the interesting thing, and this was actually pointed out to me by a very loving sister in the faith, and we kind of marveled at this verse. It's not like a common verse, that many people memorize, or they know, or they base scriptures or base sermons or anything off of. And if Yahusha, and here's the thing, Yahusha taught in many kahals, or what is known as synagogues. Okay, so it's obvious that he read from the scrolls, the word of Yahuah. So what are by Yahudim, in your scriptures it'll say Jews. We're talking about, because he's in a set apart place, we're talking about other teachers like Pharisees, like Sadducees, like I forgot the third party. It just slipped my mind. But the scribes and the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Okay? So these are learned men. They aren't marveling at him reading scripture. Okay? They're not marveling at him reading scripture. He was giving knowledge that they considered hidden, and it was something that you had to be taught by them. All right? So he was revealing hidden information that was not available to the public at large. But he had not, according to the men, the Yehudim, as it says, or the Jews, as it will say in a lot of the scriptures, he was teaching something that they did not normally teach. So Yahuah was revealing truth that was not normally taught. And it is in that aspect that I am striving, and I pray that Yahuah is with me, that I will begin to show this. So saying that, let's get into the letters. And by the way, this is Yahusha in Paleo, what's called Paleo Hebrew, but it's Middle Yahudyath or Paleo Yahudyath. This is the Yah, He, U, Shan or Shin, and the Ain or the Ayin. All right. So here is the Yahudyath alphabet. And as you can see here, it looks vastly different from pictographic Yahudyath, and it definitely looks different than modern Hebrew. And as you can see, each letter has been named. Some of these names, they look familiar, some of them do not. This is what's known in modern Hebrew as the Aleph, but the Aleph actually has a lot of vowel pointing, and let me say this. Let me preface all that by saying this. I have done many months research, and I have been looking into old, very old, what's called Hebrew lexicons, very old Hebrew dictionaries, very old Hebrew grammar books. And when I say old, we're talking anywhere from 180 years old to almost 300-year-old books. Okay, I've been doing extensive research to come up with accurate information. I will say this, the information that is known now to the public now is in a lot of aspects vastly different than what was known during those times. So we're talking anywhere from the 1700s to the late 1800s, okay, as compared to what we know now. So the letters that say that, the letters that you see here, the names that you see here are either the words or combinations. So in the case of what is known as the Aleph, okay, it the books that I have been researching, it was either the Al or the Alf. Now, you get Aleph by vowel pointing the E in between the L and the PH, okay? So that's where you get the modern term Aleph. But without vowel pointing, it would just be Alf or Alf, okay? And it is from Alf, or all, that the Hellenic people, which is, a lot of people say Greek, but their language was Hellenic. The Hellenic people got alpha. So the term was all or all alf, and they took it and they put alpha. Same thing. Today it's called the bet, but it's the bot, okay, or the bait, and the Hellenic people took it and made it beta. Okay, do you see the consistency there? We have today it's called the gimel. In modern Hebrew, it was originally the gam. Okay, my pointer keeps, let's see here, see if I can get a visible. There we are. Sorry about that. So the gam or the gimel today, it was originally the gam. It's from which the Hellenic people got the gamma. Okay. The dalet, we have the dal. I've seen in both cases dal and dalt. Okay. Today, vowel pointed, there's an E here and an E in between the L and the T, and that's where you get dalet today. But originally, it's the dal or the dalt, which the Hellenic people took and made delta. Okay, and on and on. We've got the ha. Today, it's the hey. Today, it's called the wa, or I've even seen va, vav, or the wa. Okay. Or the wall. It originally is oo or ooah. Okay, it's just oo. We have today it's the zayin. Back then it was just the zan. We have today it's the het, but it's the hate. We have the tets today. It's the tate. Today this is the yod, but it's the ya or the yad. Kaf is the same. Today we have lamed, but it was originally lam. Today it's the mem. It was mam or mame. The noon is the same. Samek is the same. Today it's ayin, but it's ayan or ayin. A pa, today it's pay. Today they have this as the sadi. It was originally the sad, okay, or the said. The kuf, that's the same. It was rosh, literally head. Today they have vowel pointed into rosh. There's an O here. Today it's the shin. It originally was the shan, okay. And today they have this as being the tav. It originally was the two. It's just the it's the two and the wa or the oo. okay? But they vowel pointed the oo, that would be this letter. They vowel pointed the oo and have made it a V, so they have it tav today. It originally was the two. So here is your Paleo, what's called Paleo Hebrew. This is Middle Yahudyath, okay, because languages develop. Middle Yahudyath is equivalent to the term Paleo Hebrew. All right. So today is kind of an overview, like a comparison of what is known as modern Hebrew today and what is the original Yahudyath. All right. And this picture here is an archaeological find. It's called the King Jehoash inscription. And you can see the very letters that I showed you. If you take a look here, here's the left kind of turned at the side. It is the same as that. Just picking out some letters. Here's the Samek. There's the Samak. Okay. Let's see here. Here's the Hay. And there's the Hay. So you can see a lot of similarities to what was used. Here's the bait or the bots, and likewise. So you can actually see that this alphabet corresponds with an actual archaeological find. All right. So, and by the way, down here right at the end is Yahuah. Here's the Yod, Hey, Wah, or originally Ua, or U, Hey. So this is actually Yahuah down here. All right, so let's talk about the differences between modern Hebrew and original Yahudyath. And I'll be showing you some side-by-side comparisons, all right? So let's talk about the letters themselves, all right? As you can see here, to the left is modern Hebrew. To the right, I have a combination of pictograph Hebrew, or Yahudyath, and Middle Yahudyath, or Paleo Hebrew, all right? So modern Hebrew, those letters were adopted from Babel or Babylon, but the correct term is Babel. They were adapted during the Babylonian or the exile in Babel. And that exile actually happened in 597 BC. I know a lot of people say 586, but it actually happened in 597. So these are the letters that were used in Babylon or Babel, and this was adopted by the few tribes that were left. And if you're talking about history, the 10 tribes, or the northern kingdom, and we're talking about when Yasharel was split, and this was after Shlomo died, King Solomon. Okay, after he died, it was split into 2 kingdoms. And in your scriptures, you'll hear Israel, that is the 10 tribes. They were actually carted off by the Assyrians in 722 BC. So it wasn't until a couple of hundred years later that the tribe of Yehudah and Benjamin, they were carted off to Babel. But the Assyrians took off 10 tribes in about 722 BC, and then that left the southern kingdom, and that in your scriptures is called Judah, okay, which was comprised of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. All right. They were not carted off by the Chaldeans, by Nebuchadnezzar, until a couple hundred years after their brethren in 597 BC. And these are the letters that were adopted during that time of exile. All right. Now, original Yahudyath, both Paleo and Picto, Picto being the most ancient, Paleo being Middle Yahudyath, are based on practical everyday things. Now, if you look at modern Hebrew, you can't really tell. This is the ayin. This is the same letter as this. This is in pictograph Yahudyath, okay? The actual pictures. And the ayin, what's known as the ayin, but it's actually the ayin, is actually an I. Now, here's the same letter in modern Hebrew. You cannot tell that that originally was an I. All right? And even in Middle Yahudyath or Paleo Hebrew, it is a circle. It doesn't have a dot in the middle, but it's a circle. It looks like kind of like a zero. Okay? You can tell that it's an I. You can't tell that that's an I. All right? So both Paleo pictograph Hebrew, which these are two examples of pictograph. This is the noon. And the noon meant a seed, and this is the ayin or the ein, and it stood for an I. Both of these are pictographic Hebrew, what's called pictographic Hebrew. Okay, that's ancient Yahudyath. These three are Middle Yahudyath or Paleo Hebrew. This is the bat or the bet in modern terms, and this is shelter. This is what's used for house or shelter. This is the, it's called shin today, but it's the shan, and it's teeth, and it looks like teeth. Okay? This is the mem. It's called mem today, but it's mom originally. And this is water. They actually call it mayim, which is plural, meaning waters. But if you think about water, water is already plural. Okay? So here's one difference. You can tell what the original forms are versus in modern Hebrew today. It's a little hard. This, by the way, is the shin, and this is the shin. And you can tell that this is teeth. It looks pointy, but can you recognize that as being originated from teeth? Probably not. Okay. Here is your mem. Same, here's the mom, same letter. This is the original form. It looks like waves, water waves, okay? Can you tell that that is water waves? So here are some of the differences in the letters of the two different alphabets. And I'm going to say this. It is not, most of what I'm showing you today is not accepted. Okay, and continuing throughout this series, it is not what the current common understanding, agreed upon understanding is today. All right, it is not. So these two are two different languages. I know they call this Hebrew and they call this Hebrew, but it's two different languages. Okay, next, pronunciation. And this is a big one between the differences, okay? In modern Hebrew, pronunciation is aided by a whole system of dashes and dots above, below, beside, and inside of the letters of the modern Hebrew, okay? This system is called nakud. Okay, and nakud is a modern Hebrew term that actually means pointing, or it may be there are some definitions that say dotting, but it is pointing. All right, and it is a system of dots and dashes used to represent vowel sounds or changes to the pronunciation of consonant letters. Now, in modern Hebrew, they tell you there are no vowels. All right? That has not always been so. That has not always been the thought. Now, I have a collection of older books, as I mentioned earlier, and I can tell you that all the way up until the late 1800s, they had the sense to know that there were 5 vowels. All right? And we'll get into that. I don't think I showed it on this presentation, but they are 5 vowels. Just like in our language, there's 5 vowels. In original Yahudyath, there's 5 vowels. There's some discrepancy. Some people say 6 vowels, but most say 5. All right. Now, an example of Nakud being done at work. This little dot in the middle of the bet, this is the letter bet. It is equivalent to the bot, the B. Okay, here's the same word. This is called a dagesh. If you use the same dot in the U or the Wa, it's called a sharuk. All right, but it's the same dot, 2 different words, same dot. All right, now in modern Hebrew, here's the word for ab. So you have the aleph and you have the bet. All right, that means father. Now, if you add the dagesh to the bet, okay, and here's the dagesh, right smack dab in the middle, it changes the B to a V. It still means father, but it turns the ab into an av. So there you go. Also, in pronunciation of the modern Hebrew, they have 2 letters that are silent. The aleph, okay, that they say are silent. If you look at ab in modern Hebrew, it'll have vowel pointing, and they'll say, well, it's the dot or whatever they use to make the ah sound underneath it. All right. And the in, they say that both of these letters are silent. All right. So in original Yahudyath, there is no vowel pointing. Okay. Vowel pointing was created around, there is a time frame, but for to make it simple, around 1000 AD. All right. Each letter and therefore each word is pronounced the same. Each letter is the same. There's no vowel pointing. So in original Yahudyath, the aleph makes an ah sound. It doesn't change. It's ah. It actually has a sound. Okay. There's some debate about what's called the ayin. Okay, but the ayin can either make a long A sound. I've seen where some people said it's an O sound, and I've seen where some people say it's an I sound. I personally, looking at the scriptures themselves and looking at the words, I believe it's a long A sound. Like in the word Esau, okay, they have it spelled with an E, but it begins with an IN, and I think it's a su or a shoe, okay? Also, in original Yahudyath, there are no silent letters. Each letter has a sound, and it's pronounced the same. On to spelling, okay? In modern Hebrew, certain letters change their shape at the end of a word, and these are called the final of that particular letter. So, and they have 5 sets of them, and it's the kaf. All of the ones that are in purple are the final letters. So if the kaf is at the ending of a word, you will see this instead of this. Okay? If the mem, and there's a lot of words that end with mem because the mem at the end of the word represents a plural sense, more than one. Okay, so words like, and I'm going to use the modern Hebrew term, Elohim, okay, meaning mighty ones, or they use it to mean Yahuah. Okay, you will see this mem and not this one. Noon, here's the final. Pei, here's the final. Sadi, which is originally the Sod, here's the final. Now, if you look at this Sadi and you go back and you look at the Ayin, they're pretty close. They're pretty close. Okay. And a lot of the characters are pretty close, and I won't show that today, but a lot of the characters in modern Hebrew can be confused. Now, on to original Yahudyath. The letters retain their shape regardless of their position in a word. So, the mom, okay, and this is a pictographic mom or mem if you're more comfortable with modern Hebrew. The mom is water. It looks like water waves. That's where it comes from. The paleo version looks like this, okay, which is Middle Yahudyath, okay. Paleo Hebrew, pictograph Hebrew. That's the modern terms. This is ancient Yahudyath, Middle Yahudyath. All right. They retain their shape no matter where you put them in a word. Beginning, middle, end. They keep this same shape versus the mem here. If it's in the beginning or the middle, you'll get this one. If it's at the end, you'll get this one. So that's one difference. That's another difference. So in review, the letters, okay, you can tell the origin of the letters and what they stand for in original Yahudyath versus what the letters look like in modern Hebrew, okay? You can, in modern Hebrew, they use a system of vowel pointing because they make the claim that there are no vowels in modern Hebrew, okay? In original Yahudyath, there are no vowel pointing and there were vowels. The vowels, and I'll name them off to you. The vowels were the aleph, the he. Let's go back to the alphabet and I'll show you. The original vowels were the alf or aleph, okay, the ha or he, the u or what's called wa today, okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, I'm missing one, the yod, where's the ya, here we go, the ya or the yod, and then the ayan or the ayin, okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These were the vowels in original Yahudyath. The language had vowels. You cannot have a language without vowels. It's impossible. I don't care what they say to you today. Okay? There were vowels. And all the way up until the late 1800s, they taught that these were vowels. Okay? Now, in modern Hebrew, they say there are no vowels, and that's why you need this vowel pointing system to help you with vowels. And also, in some cases, the vowel pointing system, like the gesh and the sharuk, actually changes the sound of a consonant. Okay, so, and here's an example. You have ab here with the gesh, it's av with a V. By the way, there is no V, there is no W, there is no I in original Yahudyath. So, that is a modern adaptation. Modern Hebrew also says that 2 of the vowels are silent. In original Yahudyath, it does not. Okay? Spelling. Some 5 of the letters in modern Hebrew change their shape when they are at the end of the word, and they're called the final. So this would be the final kaf. This would be the final mem. This would be the final noon. This would be the final pei. And this would be the final sadi. But in original Yahudyath, whether you're looking at the pictographs or whether you're looking at the paleo form, they retain the shape regardless of where they are in the word. All right. So here is a brief overview of that. Okay, no vowel pointing. Letters were based on physical things. Okay, the letters were changed to the Babylonian alphabet, which just by looking at it, you cannot tell where it originated from. The vowel pointing in original Yahudyath, none. final letters stay the same. The letters change their sound, and in Yahudyath it remains the same. So, in this series, as I was preparing for this, a few of you wanted to know how the videos can be downloaded, and I talked to a few people and I told them that I would try and find a website where I could pay for downloading, and at this time I can't afford that. So in trying to address some of your concerns, I was able to find two websites where you can, they actually download videos from YouTube. Okay, because obviously these will be uploaded onto the Yahuah Direct channel, and you can use either keepvid.com or tubevideodownloader.com. There may be other download websites, but here are two. So if you'd like to look at any of the videos on the Yahuah Direct channel, you can use these two or some other. And if you have your own download software, obviously you can use that too. So, in closing, I'd like to say that this video, as well as all of the previous videos, is being recorded. You can use this link to go to the Yahuah Direct channel on YouTube, or in the YouTube, you can just put in Yahuah Direct in the search box and it'll lead you there. If you have any comments or questions or anything, you can email me at yahuahdirect@yahoo.com. I am Ayana. This is in Paleo Hebrew. And at this time, I'd like to say, may you have ahab, barakah, and shalom in Yahuah. May you have love, all blessings, and peace in Yahuah. Thank you.